Alright, welcome to Alien Explained Part 1, where I go over the timeline and explain the lore of Alien. Now this is going to be a long one, so grab a snack and grab your notebooks because you might want to take notes on this one. So the story of Alien starts off with this guy right here. His name is Peter Wayland. And the story of Alien kind of begins in this anthology series consisting of 3 short films. And the first short film was called The Peter Wayland Files, The TED Conference 2023. And that's because it starts off in the year 2023. Not literally last year 2023, but the year 2023 that exists within the Alien universe. See, Peter is a trillionaire and he's a scientist, so you know what? He wants to do scientific things. And what better way to talk about your scientific endeavors than to go on TED Talk? So he calls up big homie Ted and he was just like, hey yo, can you schedule a speech for me at your show? Big homie Ted was just like, say less, I got you. So he goes on TED Talk and he announces to the world, hey, my name is Peter Wayland, I'm a trillionaire and I'm a scientist. Everybody in the crowd's like, oh, okay, cool, tell me more. So basically, Peter wanted to talk his shit and he was just like, listen, I'm so tired of all these other scientists being so scared to advance society. And the reason why they're scared is because the government is always putting rules and regulations on everybody. And the crowd goes like, oh, you know what? Yeah, you're right. And then Peter Wayland continues to say like, you know what? But mama didn't raise no bitch. I'm gonna make my own industry. And we're gonna do cool scientific shit without the regulations and restrictions of the government. The whole crowd goes wild. They're like, oh shit. And that's when he created the Wayland Industries, where they do cool scientific shit. And that also includes creating an android named David 8. Now, I want you to remember the name and the face of this android because it's going to be important to the story later on. Lock it in. So we get a brief introduction of the android David 8 in the second short film in the anthology series, and it's called Happy Birthday, David. Okay, now fast forward like 60, 70 years, we're introduced to a character named Elizabeth Shaw. So she calls up the Wayland Industries and she says, hey, can I schedule a meeting with Peter Wayland? I have some really important news that I found and I want to pass it on to him. And Peter Wayland told his assistant, yo, just hang up the phone. I'm a scientist and I'm a trillionaire. I don't talk to the little guys. So his assistant was just like, damn, that's crazy. So she hangs up the phone, click. And this is where you're going to watch the third short film in the anthology series called The Quiet Eye, Elizabeth Shaw. And basically what happens is she kept calling Wayland Industries, kept on calling and calling and calling and calling. But they never answered. I'm talking about like not a text message, phone call, email, FaceTime, letters. They were not answering at all. So you know what Elizabeth did? She decided to make a video transmission to send to Peter Wayland himself. And in this video, she basically says like, yo, I've been hitting y'all up, but you've been ghosting me and not answering your phone. I don't know what's up with that, but I found some really important information that I think you'll be interested in because, you know, you said you wanted to do some cool scientific shit. So long story short, she said, I was with my side piece who's really my boyfriend, but not really my boyfriend. And we found some clues that might lead us to who created us as a human race. So Peter sat there talking about like, oh, wait, hold on. You found a clue that may lead us to the origin story of mankind himself. Why didn't you tell me that before? And Elizabeth was just like, yeah, I did try to tell you. You just wasn't answering your phone. And Peter was just like, oh, my fault. I didn't even get your phone call. You know, my assistant was acting all weird. I don't know why she didn't tell me you called. But anyways, Peter was like, you know what? You're hired. Let's do some cool scientific shit. So you know what they do? They decided to assemble a crew and go on a class trip. The crew consisted of Elizabeth Shaw, Charlie Holloway, who was her side piece, and then David 8 the android, and then like literally everybody else in the crew. So they go on a class trip because they wanted to discover and further inspect the clue that they got in Scotland to figure out who really created mankind. Now they found out it was a rumor that this species called the engineers were the one who created mankind. So they did what every other average white people do and invite themselves over unannounced in places that they don't belong. So they find themselves on a mysterious planet, but it's not really a planet, it was the moon of a mysterious planet. And that moon that they landed on was called the LV-223. And this is where we get into the first main installment of the Alien franchise, which is Prometheus. And in this movie, they took 2 years to travel to LV-223. Now, they landed on LV-223 safely, and then they discovered this mysterious ship. And this ship actually belonged to the engineers that were on LV-223 at the time. They found the ship and they decided to discover it. Come to find out, all of the engineers were unalived. So they were like, damn, there's no engineers here at all. So that's what they think. Y'all remember that character I told you to remember later on in the story, David 8 the android? Yeah, well, let's just say he actually did find a living engineer, but he decided to keep it quiet. Everybody in the crew talking about like, yo, you acting real suspicious right now. You good? David 8 was just like, yeah, I'm chilling right now. I'm on the same team as you. I don't know why you acting suspicious. And the crew was just like, oh, all right, you better be acting correct. So to speed the story up a little bit, 2 of the members get stuck on the ship after the crew went back to their ship. And then the crew was just like, hey, yo, we gonna pick you up tomorrow morning. But 2 of the members that were stuck on the engineer ship got unalived by the baby facehugger. So then the crew came back to the engineer ship the next morning and they were like, wait, where the homies at? And then they realized the homie were dead, so we like, oh, okay, like, we really gotta get out of here. And that little baby face hugger that you see right here basically impregnated Elizabeth Shaw. She ended up removing the alien from her body, but ended up not killing it. Now, you remember this character I told you in the beginning of this video, Peter Wayland, the guy who started this whole thing? Now, you remember this character, the android David? He basically goes up to Elizabeth Shaw. He was just like, yo, I know you just pulled the fake baby out of your stomach, but you need to come with me to the office. Somebody wants to speak to you. Now, she steps inside the office and she's like, wait, hold on. You're Peter Wayland. Now, the reason why he looks like this is because he's old. First of all, it's been like 70, 80 years since he started Wayland Industries. And on top of that, he's sick. So Elizabeth was just like, wait, what are you even doing here? I thought you were dead. Because remember, in the beginning of the Prometheus movie, there was a video presentation by Peter himself saying like, yo, if you're seeing this video, I'm dead. But Peter basically told Elizabeth like, yeah, I lied. I just wanted to come on the class trip with y'all on the off chance that the engineers are real. We could use their technology to heal me and I could live forever. And Elizabeth was just like, oh, I thought you wanted to use their technology to advance society and help people. And then Peter Wayland was just like, oh yeah, nah, I'm a scientist and I'm a trillionaire. I lied. And here's where things get really sticky because Peter Wayland told Elizabeth to take me to the engineers. And she was just like, they're all dead. David the android was like, not necessarily. I found one that was alive. Elizabeth was like, damn, you ain't want to tell nobody? And David was just like, yeah, you know, he's the boss, not you. So David takes them to the engineer. So Elizabeth and David take Peter to the last living engineer. And the engineer wakes up from his sleep and he sees all these little humans. Long story short, he is disgusted by the sight of humans. So you know what he does? He basically crashes out and unalives everybody in sight. And I'm talking about everybody. Now, I don't know why I said everybody, because Elizabeth ended up escaping, and David is an android, so he can't die, so she basically takes the head of David the android, and basically escapes. And boom, that's the end of the movie. And let's not forget the fact that also at the end of the movie, we get a glimpse of the baby xenomorph. And yes, I will be explaining that in another video, but for now, thank you for watching. I'll see you in part 2. Also, I would like to not apologize for how long this video is. It's not my fault your attention span is dog shit.